Hi, I'm Peter Sidwell and welcome to Quick Kitchen. Today is a very special day because we are going gluten-free. Now, I have been doing some massive amounts of research on trying to come up with a beautiful recipe for gluten-free bread. I get asked all the time for a recipe for gluten-free bread by none other than Missy over there. But lots of people are always asking me, have you got a really good recipe? And I'll be honest, until now, I've kind of shied away from it and I've just said, no, I'm really sorry. But I can now say I've got a really good bread recipe. We've tested it a few times, haven't we?
Yep.
And we've been amazed by the results. And not only are we going to teach you how to make a lovely loaf of gluten-free bread, we're also going to show you how to make the most amazing pizza gluten-free. Okay, so first of all, we start with USA long grain rice, okay? So I've got 350 grams. Now, this recipe is very particular on its weights, measures, times, and temperatures, okay? So go to my website, petersidwell.com, find the recipe, and follow it. You need scales, and you also need a thermometer. And the other piece of equipment is you need a blender, okay? But we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, 350 grams of long grain USA rice. And then we are going to soak it in cold water. Okay, so a couple of pints of water. We're going to strain that off in a little bit anyway, so it can be a little bit more, a little bit less. It doesn't matter. Give it a good stir round, okay? We're going to just to release some of the starches, wash that rice off. What I want you to do is leave that now for 30 minutes, just soaking, and then we will come back and make this bread. Right, my rice has been soaking for about 30 minutes now, so all we need to do is just pour it into a sieve. We're going to get rid of the excess water. So let's just scrape that through. Now, I have got myself here a blender. It needs to be quite a good strength blender, okay? Because it's got to crush all this rice. So let's just drain that excess water away. Important that you get rid of that. And then in with our soaked long grain rice. So this is USA long grain rice, all right? I've done lots of work with these guys in the past, so I know the product well. Okay, so this is where it gets fairly precise. So I've got 80 mils of vegetable oil. You could use olive oil if you wanted to, no problem. I've got 25 grams of sugar. And then I've got 10 grams of salt. And I need 280 grams of water. Okay? So it's important that you weigh the water. So I'm going to put my jug on there and then zero it, okay? So I use Taylor scales for this because I know they've got the precision and the accuracy. So I want 280. It's not like me to have to weigh everything, is it, and measure it. This is taking a lot of willpower, this, but I've done it both ways. And you do need to weigh it out. You do need the accuracy of this for it to work. There we go. Right. And then I've got 14 grams of dried yeast. All right. And I put the yeast in last so that it doesn't sit in contact with the salt, because that is when you run the risk of it killing the yeast and it won't rise. Now, let me explain what's going to happen in here. We're going to blend the rice, and it's going to create a batter, and that batter is yeasted. So we've added yeast to it, we've added sugar so that it can feed on the sugar and create carbon dioxide, and that will help the bread rise. And the rice will blend and create that kind of batter for us. Okay, right, it's really important because the rice is in there whizzing round, it's creating heat. It's It's really important that that heat doesn't exceed 40 degrees, otherwise it'll kill the yeast. So I'm just going to take the temperature, and we are at 31, 32, 33 degrees. So I'm going to give it one more blast for 10 seconds and then it's done. That's it. Bread making almost done. So what we've got now is a rice-based batter with yeast in it, okay? So it's a yeasted batter. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour it into here to bake a loaf of bread. And we will leave it to prove for half an hour, and then we'll bake it at 185 degrees Celsius. We will spray the top with a little bit of water. But what we wanted to do was make something that all people who avoid gluten or are gluten intolerant crave and can't always have. And that, for me, is a pizza. So what I'm going to do is pour 2/3 into here. Done. Okay, we're going to leave that to prove. Now, got to work quite quickly because we learnt this the hard way, didn't we, Emily?
Yeah.
We need to get a frying pan. So I've got a little crepe pan on there. Okay, and I've got it on a medium heat. While that's just getting hot, let's make a beautiful pizza sauce. So I've got a tin of chopped tomatoes. Now, from a cost-effective point of view, the research we did was a loaf of bread, gluten-free, costs you £3. A pizza, gluten-free, costs you £3. I can make both for £3. So it's half the price if you make it yourself. And if that's important to you, then that, I think that is worth knowing. So I've drained the excess moisture out of there and put the chopped tomatoes back in. Now this sauce is good no matter whether it's gluten-free pizza or not. Half a teaspoon of oregano. And then I've got half a clove of garlic. That's it. Little splash of olive oil. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of salt into there, a little bit of pepper, and that is my pizza sauce. Now, when I did the research on this, we have costed out the recipes, and I was amazed to see a loaf of gluten-free bread costs £3, okay? And then a gluten-free pizza costs £3 as well. So that's £6. I've made both of these for £1.50 each, so that is £3 for both. That is half the price if you make it yourself. And you know exactly what has gone into this pizza and this loaf of bread. And I think that's really important. So, let's get back to cooking. Let's mix together the drained tomatoes, olive oil, salt, pepper, oregano, and a little bit of garlic. I've got myself some fresh mozzarella here. I've gone for the cheaper one, the supermarket brand, because when you're cooking with it, that's all you need. Right. Are you ready, Emily? We're going to cook a gluten-free pizza. All right, so I've got my pan hot. I've got my dough. And what we're going to do is pour it straight into here. Okay? While it's liquid, and I know it looks a bit like a pancake, but bear with me. It is a bit like a pancake until it cooks. Okay, so we're just going to let it, and we've done this before the yeast starts making the actual bread really light and puffy, which it does. And because it hasn't got gluten in, it hasn't got the stretch. So it's really important that you do this straight away before. Don't let it prove. So all I'm going to do is tear my mozzarella up, ready. Can you see it cooking there, Emily? See all those little air pockets? Yeah? So I'm cooking it in a crepe pan because it means that I've got access to it all and I can get to it. Okay, so my pizza base is just cooking underneath and going nice and crisp. What I'm going to do is whack this under the grill for a couple of minutes. Great thing about that pan, metal handle, goes straight into the oven in the grill. Okay, so I'm going to leave the grill on. And look, you can just see that it's started to toast. Now, because we drained all the moisture from the tomatoes, now all we're left with is that wonderful tomato flavour. Okay? Our gluten-free base has set under the grill. So it's set underneath when we fried it in the pan, and now we've set it. Because we've no gluten, we need heat to kind of set this and give it a fighting chance. So get your mozzarella on. There we go. And I like to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on because it just makes everything really delicious. Okay, black pepper. And there we go. You could eat it as it is, or you could whack it straight under the grill just to finish it off. And that is going to make an amazing gluten-free pizza. Right, the dough has proved, okay, I poured it in, I've left it at room temperature for 30 minutes, and you can see, look, it's a bit jiggly, it's proved, it's doubled in size, it's full of air. But because it's in a loaf tin, it's held its shape. Now, what we need to do is spray it with some water. Water helps develop the crust because it evaporates on the bread and causes caramelization, which causes crust to be nice and crispy. So spray it with plenty of water and then whack it in the oven, preheated 185 degrees for 30 minutes. And the last bit of water, chuck in there as well. Steam will help make it a better bread. Right, pizza is just grilled enough for me, just to keep all those lovely fresh flavours. I will just carefully scoop it off. So remember, this pizza base is made from rice, okay? We've used USA long grain rice, and we've made a batter, a yeasted batter, and we've just poured it into a crepe pan and set it, topped it with an amazing sauce, and there we have a delicious gluten-free pizza. Bread is baked. Now, it's important to know when this bread is cooked, and you actually do it by temperature. So, it needs to be above 92 degrees Celsius. So, all I'm going to do is, where I've got that nice crack from where we added the water, just pop the probe in, check the temperature, we're way over into the 90s, 96. I know it's cooked, but it's a proper bread. It is a proper loaf of bread. What do you think, Emily?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
There we go. Let's just tear that off. Now, even the non-stick tins for this bread, for a gluten-free bread, need a lining, all right? Normally, if I was making normal bread, I wouldn't bother. But look at the crust. I'm going to cut you a bit, Emily, to try.
Oh, thank you.
And then we're going to send it home to your mum, who is gluten intolerant, isn't she?
Yeah.
So listen.
Oh, wow.
That's proper bread.
Wow.
Look at that. I've even got proper butter to go with it.
It deserves a piece of proper butter.
Look. I'll give you the bit with a little bit of butter on. There you go. But that's proper bread. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh.
That's amazing. I'm so pleased with that. Right. If you want to know how to make the most amazing gluten-free bread, please go to my website, petersidwell.com. You'll find the recipe there. And make sure you tune in on Saturday mornings. And we'll be doing more of this every week. Our Saturday morning kitchen cookery show, Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, is on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those, Twitter, you name it. You can get more of these. Thank you for watching. Bake this bread.